Okay, we're now streaming and it is 7 o'clock on the nose, so I turn it over to you, Mayor Edie, when you're ready to go. Yeah, we're 7 o'clock. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
We'll ask for the calling of the roll, please.
Thank you. Mayor Edie,
Present.
Reeve Eman,
Present.
Councillor Koulis,
Present.
Councillor Evans,
Present.
Councillor Hines, Councillor Jemison,
Present.
and Councillor Sidney.
Present.
We have a quorum, Mayor Edie.
Thank you. Okay. The first motion. And good evening, Spencer. The Spencer Holmes, Manager of Client Engagement for the Canadian Hearing Services, be heard before council, provide information on accessibility supports for the deaf and the hard of hearing. Mover, please. Review, second by Councillor Jemison. Ask for your report, Mr. Holmes.
So Spencer, I have your presentation ready. If it's easier, I can screen share for you.
Sure. Yeah. Much appreciated.
Okay, great. I'll just bring it up here. Okay, just a second. Let me jiggle around. Okay.
So I appreciate everybody taking the time this early evening just to hear me speak a little bit. So Mayor Edie and members of council, thank you very much. So my name is Spencer Holmes, Manager of Client Engagement, Eastern Ontario, Eastern Canada for Canadian Hearing Services. And basically my role is really one of just support. I reach out to all kinds of organizations from top to bottom with the upcoming AODA and the ACA mandates for full accessibility by 2025 coming down the pipeline. There's quite a few organizations that either have already started on their road to accessibility, some who haven't really had much of a chance to do so. So I just try to provide support wherever I can, resources, information, whatever the case might be. That way, folks like you know where to turn or what's available if you actually want to, once you want to start going down that path. And this has to do specifically with deaf and hard of hearing. Obviously, there's other disabilities, you know, blind, mobility issues, all the rest of it. The company I work for, we deal specifically with deaf and hard of hearing. So again, thank you for allowing me to present to you. So I'll go over some of these slides just really quickly. I know obviously time is somewhat limited. So basically there's the 4 different types of sign languages that we found in the deaf communities in Canada. You have the normal ASL, who everybody's familiar with. You have LSQ, which is for the French folks, Langue des Signes Québécois. You also have ISL, which is the Inuit Sign Language, and Maritime Sign Language. Not as familiar. Before I started with CHS back in November of last year, I didn't even know that ISL and MSL existed. So sign languages, basically, they're processed in the same part of the brain as spoken languages, but they have their own complex grammar and syntax that are a bit distinct from spoken languages and other languages. So there is a differentiation between deaf and deaf with a capital D. So deaf with a lowercase d would be used to describe or identify anybody who has a severe hearing problem, more so used to refer to people who are severely hard of hearing as well. Whereas deaf with a capital D, that is reserved for the folks who have been deaf their whole lives or since they began to basically learn how to talk. So correct word usage, very helpful whenever you're dealing with someone who is deaf. You always want to use terms like deaf with a capital D, hard of hearing, deafened. Things you want to stay away from is hearing impaired, deaf and dumb, deaf mute, or hearing disabilities. In the deaf community, those are kind of words that you know, don't really resonate well with those folks. That's basically just sort of a quick synopsis of that. So one of the things I wanted to talk to you about today is specifically CSVRI. Although we have a whole suite of support systems that can be put in place, especially for city halls and whatnot, government organizations, the whole bit. CSVRI happens to deal specifically with folks who are deaf, or potentially those who are hard of hearing who deal in ASL or LSQ. So very shortly, it's a 2-minute video that we're going to play. Basically, just to give you a quick rundown of it. It's basically, you can think of it along the lines of historically, up until basically COVID, the only way to, if a deaf individual walked into your establishment, you'd have to either pass a note back and forth, have them write. If somebody happened, luckily, to be around, or one of the staff happened to know some sign language, they could help them in that way. Otherwise, you'd have to call ahead to book an interpreter. When that happens, historically, it was a 2-hour minimum, even if the meeting for the individual only takes 5 minutes. So by the time everything's said and done, a 10-minute meeting could end up costing $200, $250 plus. So CHS kind of thought, okay, how can we sort of improve this? Along came COVID. We went virtual. So basically what happens is one of your service counters would have a tablet, and the customer service rep would then help the deaf individual out. They would identify as deaf. The customer service rep would then log into the website really quick, almost like logging into an email. In about 30 seconds, an interpreter would pop up on the screen. So that way there's no back and forth. They can have a 3-way conversation, nice and smooth. Once everything's all said and done, the call ends and the deaf individual can go off on their way. I'll send along some information to the lady who had allowed me to present to this forum, which will go into some of the ins and outs of CSVRI as well as pricing. As a general overview for each account that's set up, basically think of it as each tablet. It's $3 a month, and that's the monthly fee. Usually what I'll do is I'll waive it for the first 6 months, because when you install something like that, you never really know how much use you're going to get out of it. When it's in use, it's only $4 a minute. So if it's a 5-minute conversation between the deaf individual and the CSR, you're looking at $20 instead of that historical $200 plus. So that's just kind of a general overview of that. And if you're able to click the video, please, I'll allow you folks to give it a quick watch there, please. I wonder if, because we're on YouTube right now, if it's going to play, if it's live streaming, maybe. Might not work. It might not work because of the live stream. I'm not really sure. I'm not as techie as some folks, but that's okay. If we can't watch the video, what I'll do is I'll send a link afterwards. Like I said, to the lady who helped organize this. I can try. I'm going to give this a quick. Okay, yeah, that's no problem. Okay, so I apologize for that. I guess because we're live streaming, it won't work. Basically, the 2-minute video, watch it at your leisure. It basically shows the interaction of someone who's deaf approaching a hotel, in this circumstance, a hotel counter. And at first, the women behind the counter aren't able to assist the person. And then you introduce CSVRI. The person walks up, identifies as deaf, and then they pop on the tablet. They're able to go back and forth, and everything's nice and smooth. So that's the idea. That's one of the main supports that I really try to bring forward as a support system to organizations like your own. That's one of the things that especially the deaf community has really seemed to adapt to and adopt. That's made their historical challenges dealing face-to-face with folks basically a lot easier. There is some other stuff as well, counter loops that are more so for folks that have hearing aids. Basically like a sound field, same thing. Customer service rep at the wicket almost creates like a sound field that once the person with hearing aids steps into, that's the only thing they can hear is that back and forth. All the background noise and everything behind them dissipates. But that's in the documentation. Like I said, I'll pass along afterwards. So that's basically the end of the presentation. I just wanted to bring it forward. If anybody has any questions, I'm happy to answer those now. And if not, as I said, I'll pass along information afterwards later on today or tomorrow to you folks just to peruse.
Okay, thank you very much. Any questions or comments, council?
I'll just say quickly, Mayor Edie, I'm sorry for the technical issues. I could hear it and see it fine, so I was watching intently, and I wonder why Spencer was talking during the presentation. So, but I will get that circulated to council, the PowerPoint with the link for the video. Apologize for that. Just I guess it is a conflict with our live streaming on YouTube as well.
Not a problem. Councillor Sedney.
I just wanted to commend you on getting this technology. Accessibility is something that's pretty close to me, so I think this is pretty phenomenal. And for you to be able to adapt because of COVID, and then be able to allow agencies and municipalities to use it as well, I think is phenomenal. So I just want to say kudos to you guys. That's fantastic.
Revimo.
Yes, thank you. And Spencer, thank you for the presentation. Very informative. Is there a staff person or a liaison person in this region that should we have questions, or some members of the community have questions that we can link them to you or to your organization?
So definitely. So I myself, I'm in Ottawa. I'm in the east end of Ottawa, just Orleans. So I'm fairly close. Definitely, if there's any questions that any of you happen to have, or if you circulate it, or there's any kind of additional info you're looking for, whatever the case might be, you can definitely direct them my way. One of the things that has really helped out, my colleague who looks after Western Ontario, Western Canada, he's actually been successful in getting on a couple of police services, emergency services, because there is times where they might pull someone over, an ambulance might arrive at a call, or even firefighters. And should they encounter somebody who's deaf, they can actually use it on their cell phone. Same thing, they just log into the website, put in their credentials, and then within 30 seconds, the live interpreter will pop up and they can have that three-way conversation during an emergency situation. So lots of different applicable uses for it. But as Mr. Ballmer said, he's going to pass along the PowerPoint as well as the video, and then from there, I'll do the standard, probably about 2 or 3 weeks or so. I'll follow up with you folks after I've sent along the documentation. And if it's something that you're planning on, being part of the accessibility plan that you're kind of rolling out over time, we can definitely have that talk. But at least it's there if ever any of you folks want to implement it kind of widely, or specific departments to start, whatever makes the most sense for you. The other thing, I actually just did this at the North Grenville municipality a couple days ago. So we can do a site assessment as well. And that's free of charge. Basically what happens is I go in, I have a look for things like, do the fire alarms have strobes on them for visual signs? What does it look like for counters? How many, if you're looking to do VRI, how many would make sense? What does the space look like? So if ever you're interested in getting that done, that's available as well. Just let me know. But it's basically more so just, as I said, to present the information so that you know what resources are out there. And if the time comes and you want to proceed with anything further, then we have that conversation.
Thank you.
Anything else? Spencer, this is something brand new that I've never heard of before, and tremendously interesting, because with the accessibility rules and regulations coming forth in the future, for the very near future, I think we're going to need a lot of this type of thing, and technology is amazing when we can get it there. So anyway, on behalf of council and people of the town of Renfrew, I just want to say thank you for making that presentation tonight, and good luck moving forward.
Thank you very much. All right, have a good night, everyone.
Okay, good night.
Thanks.
Okay, all in favor of the motion? Carried, thank you. Okay, that the minutes of the regular meeting of council held June 22nd, 2021 be adopted as printed. The mover, please. Revimo, second by Councillor Evans. Again, any questions or comments on the minutes? Okay, hearing none. All in favor? Carried. That the minutes of the special meeting of council held June 29th, 2021 be adopted as printed. Mover, please. Councillor Evans, seconded by Councillor Jameson. Again, any questions or comments on this? This special meeting was about our new addition to a recreation complex, and just noticing in the minutes, there was recorded votes and they were all unanimous. All in favor? Carried. Okay. That the letter of request from the Renfrew Agricultural Society dated June 24th, 2021 be received. And further that Renfrew Town Council offer no objection to the temporary extension of society's existing liquor license for the purpose of operating an outdoor beer garden during the Renfrew Fair to be held September the 8th to the 12th, 2021. Over, please. Councillor Jamison, seconded by Councillor Sidney. Any questions or comments on this? Okay, hearing none. It's rather nice to see that Renfrew Fair will be coming back this year. It's something that I think we all look forward to and hope it'll be a success. All in favor? Carried. Okay. The planner witness report dated July the 8th concerning sidewalk patio liability insurance be received. Further, Renfrew Town Council provide direction with respect to the minimum amount of liability insurance to be required moving forward for sidewalk, restaurant, patios on town property. Mover, please. Councillor Jamison, seconded by Councillor Evans. We'll turn it over to Planner Withers for the report.
Thank you, Mayor Eady. So council will be familiar with these patios, and we see a few of them each year. Finnegan's is building a patio this year. That's the first time they've built one, and Coco Jerry's is up, and the old Santa Fe patio that Kara's Way bought is up. So it was brought, well, I guess maybe going back a little bit. For the last couple of years, the town has been requiring a liability insurance certificate in the amount of $5 million per occurrence. And that's been, as I mentioned, the last couple of years. And there have been some questions about that amount of insurance and whether it's absolutely necessary. We had formerly been requiring a $2 million per occurrence amount of coverage, but in consulting with the town's insurance broker, it was determined that that $5 million would be the gold standard, if you will, and is in the town's best interest. And it's and there's a letter actually attached to the report from the town's insurance agent, essentially articulating in Appendix A, articulating the strong suggestion that $5 million be at the very least the aggregate limit, and ideally the per occurrence amount, but understanding that that the premiums, as we've been advised by local business owners, can be quite high for a $5 million limit per occurrence. I think what they're asking for is for council to consider a lower liability insurance coverage amount, and so that's why this is before council. This hasn't been initiated at the staff level. It's a request that was advanced by the restaurant community, and so it's here before you this evening. As noted, we did bring it to. We did seek the advice of our insurance brokers, and they provided the attached recommendation to the report. So I think that's it. It's a pretty straightforward request. I think it's to council to determine what the appropriate amount of coverage is. Obviously, the advice of the town's insurers. They've indicated again that at minimum that we should be requiring a $2 million per occurrence limit, an aggregate limit of $5 million in coverage, which means that if there are multiple claims, that there'd be up to $5 million in coverage available under the policy. And so that's what they're recommending as a minimum. And so we're putting this before council this evening for consideration. If there's any questions, be happy to answer them. I think we've got Director Aslan here as well.
Any questions, council? Any comments? Councillor Koulis.
This, thank you, Your Worship. This minimum of $5 million coverage, is that something that the existing patios have already proven coverage for?
Thank you, Councillor Koulis. Yeah, I did neglect to mention that the existing patios have provided the $5 million of insurance. The patio that is being that's yet to be constructed, that's forthcoming, is the Finnegan's patio, and what we suspect is that, and it's been confirmed by our insurance broker, is that the premiums for insurance, for liability insurance for restaurants, is generally related to the amount of alcohol that it serves. So a restaurant that serves more alcohol, perhaps a restaurant like Finnegan's would, just as part of their business, have more alcohol sales. So their premiums might be quite a bit higher. That said, if we're gonna have a policy in place, should be across the board. So those the two restaurants that have already established their patios and provided the insurance at the higher amount, we should be notifying them if council decides to lower the requirement and provide them with the opportunity to provide reduced insurance coverage. So,
Director Aslan.
Yes, and just to be clear, the patios that have provided the insurance, so one has provided the $5 million per occurrence, which is the first recommendation in the insurance company's letter. The second company has provided the $2 million per occurrence with a $5 million aggregate, which is sort of the second recommendation in the insurance broker's letter. So we do have the $5 million aggregate coverage in both cases, and in one case we do have the $5 million in per occurrence coverage as well. So and I guess Eric did not touch on the fact that if council does reduce it, then we would have the courtesy of going back to the other proponents and advising them that the requirements have changed.
Councillor Jamison.
Yeah, I'm comfortable with it being at 5 million, and I don't think that we should reduce it just because of the fact that, like, it can go, it's like something, we never want to see anything bad happening, but it can happen. And if 5 million is what the insurance company is recommending, they're recommending that for a reason. I think we need to follow them and, just to agree to that. And I understand for some businesses, they might not like that, but that's the cost of, doing the business and having an outdoor patio, and that's, the business they're in. So I suggest, I would like to stay at 5 million.
Any other comments or questions? Okay. The next motion coming up will determine the amount. I can tell you right now, I won't support the motion of 5 million. I did some research. Aaron Pryor is 2 million. I did talk to Mr. Gould. It was after hours, after municipal hours today, so I didn't get as much information as I would like to have got, but his insurance will go up $4,900 a year, which is enough to not make it worthwhile to even put a patio out there. So and I believe there's other areas like Mississauga, et cetera, the big cities that have a $2 million coverage. So I cannot support this next motion coming up, but getting to that though, this particular motion has been moved and seconded, and we've had the report. So all in favor of the report given. Okay. Now the next motion being the Renfrew Town Council endorse a commercial general liability limit of not lower than 5 million per occurrence, an aggregate for any restaurant conducting business operations on municipal property. Mover, please. Councillor Evans, seconded by Councillor Jamison. Okay, questions or comments?
If I could, Mayor Eady, I just propose that wording right off of the insurers or broker links letter, where they said it is strongly recommended and encouraged for any restaurants conducting business operations on municipality property to carry a commercial general liability limit not lower than 5 million per occurrence and aggregate. So that's how the motion was. I put that motion just in place to get to have some consideration for council. It's again back to use for debate.
Thank you for the explanation.
Okay.
Okay, we have a move and a seconder comments. Councillor Sidney, then Rebimo.
Just wondering, like, because it's on municipal property, we are probably going to be sued anyway if there was something happening, correct? Because I know that even though that whether it's 2 million or 5 million or whatever, even though if we're named in the policy, if it goes higher than that or whatever, like, we're still going to be named in that. So what happens if we do go say 2 million and then, like, I'm just trying to figure out the logistics of the insurance, and if something were to happen, what ends up happening to the municipality?
I don't know. I have no answer for that. Director Asselin.
Yes, part of the agreement that we enter into for the patios is an indemnification of the municipality for claims that arise against the restaurants on the municipal property. So that's specifically the purpose of the insurance, and they do indemnify us, so they hold the town harmless in claims. I guess there's nothing that stops somebody from pursuing a lawsuit, beyond the insurance coverage, and like most cases, the municipality would get drawn in. But I think we're on a very strong footing in that we have an indemnification clause from the restaurant owner.
So follow up to that?
Yes, absolutely.
So basically, if we went with $2 million and somebody wanted to, say, go after a restaurant or whatever for 3 million, that really doesn't put us responsible for that extra million.
No, but if there is some claim that our insurance company ends up getting involved in, then our insurance company may need to pay out larger amounts, and therefore they would have less coverage to be relied upon from this restaurant owner, right? So that's the purpose of the $5 million, is to ensure that they have sufficient coverage to cover the general claims that they're likely to encounter in that type of business, without having to clients approach the municipality to seek retribution. So the more coverage they have, then the less there is for the town to be involved in, since the coverage should be sufficient to deal with the claims.
Okay. Rebimo.
Yeah, I was thinking that I'd like to see us table this and get our someone from our insurance to come and offer some explanation or something, and then follow it up with something in writing. I'm always nervous when I read correspondence from our insurance company, because there's 2 paragraphs and it really wasn't that fulsome an explanation. So I'd be much more likely to feel comfortable going one way or the other if I had more information. And that's not to discredit what Director Asselin has said. Again, I think, I'd like to see something from the insurance company with a little more fulsome explanation and in writing. Insurance companies are pretty weird people to deal with when when push comes to shove and they have to write a check. They start pointing fingers and reducing what they're going to pay. In my experience and experiences I've heard from others. So I'd be much more comfortable if we had one of them in the room face to face and could put a little heat on them to get a more fulsome explanation, to be honest with you.
Okay, Councillor Koulis.
Thank you, Worship. I feel the same way that Reeve Emo does, in that I've had my experiences with insurance companies, and generally they like you to buy as much insurance coverage as possible, and then twice that amount again. And then when it comes time to pay, they find some way of not paying. And when I hear what you just said, Mayor Eadie, about Aaron Pryor and some of the bigger city areas that don't require that sort of coverage, I understand that the town wants to protect itself, and we should all hide behind the insurance coverage as much as we can. At the same time, we have businesses that are suffering and have they're coming out of 18 months of pretty dramatic circumstances, and I think we need to shed a little bit of light on their bad voyage that they've had, in that I would be much more in favor of entertaining the $2 million myself. If in fact you want to table it and listen to an insurance company come and present something to us, that's council's choice. But meanwhile, here we are in the middle of July. So do you want to play with that ball for a while and throw it around and wait until you hear from an insurance company, or stick to your $5 million, and then one business doesn't put a patio out and doesn't have the advantages that are right in front of them? That's my feeling.
Okay, anything else? Director Asselin.
Yes, I was just going to add, just so the council is aware of the status of the application, where we have the building permit file sitting on the desk, and right now the current requirement is $5 million. So we're not issuing a permit until the $5 million is provided, unless a decision is made tonight to lower it, in which case then the application will sit in its current state until either the applicant does provide $5 million, or until council makes a decision to have that reduced, just to be clear.
Thank you. Any other comments from council members? Okay. Another one of the reasons I don't want to support a 5 million is, basically with the redone of the main street, COVID, our businesses have been shut down for pretty much in one way or another, or badly affected for the past 2.5 years. And, if nothing else, I would love to see it lowered to 2 million to start with. And if it wants to be revisited in a year or two when people get back on their feet, that's a whole different story. I hear what Reeve Emo says, and I feel an awful lot the same way as to his comments and to Councillor Koulis's comments, in that insurance companies, of course, they're out to make money. And, I've seen it with my own insurance for absolutely no reason, just buying. All up it goes, and not just a little bit, substantially. And, but anyway, at the end of the day, we have this motion on the table. And I'm going to have to confer with Clerk Volmer after we have this vote as to, do we bring back another motion, or do we go with this motion? So again, I'll read the motion one more time. And I'll give you an opportunity for more comments if you wish. The Renfrew Town Council endorsed a commercial general liability limit of not lower than 5 million per occurrence, an aggregate for any restaurant conducting business operations on municipal property. Okay, so anyway, that's the motion. Is there any further comments? Okay, Councillor Sidney, then Revimo.
After listening to everybody talk and listening to whatever, you know, I think I agree with Revimo about, you know, getting more information. I also agree that, you know, insurance companies want everybody to buy as much as possible. But, you know, I think at the end of the day, you know, we have, like Mary said, we have businesses that have been struggling with the main street and everything. So, you know, at this point in time, I don't feel comfortable supporting it because, for one, there's not as much information, like Revimo said, and for two, we're limiting businesses from success, and they've already heard enough. So I don't know if we amend the motion to whatever, or what. I don't know what we do now, but as it stands now, I can't vote in favor of it.
Okay, Councillor Evans? No, I'm sorry, Revimo. Okay, Councillor Evans, then Revimo.
Yeah. Again, from a professional point of view, I do sell insurance, but this would be mortgage or life disability insurance. And it's always an uncomfortable thing to talk about with the client because we don't want to consider what if or what could happen. But I can speak from personal experiences of clients who have not purchased life and or disability insurance. And it has been devastating, so much that the house actually changes hands. It's sold because they just can't afford it. So insurance, although we may not like it, it's a mathematical equation based on affordability, yes, but also calculation on losses. So I'm no expert. And if I hear a quotation from a very competitive industry, property insurance companies, then I would have to say that I trust your professional and expertise, and the rate that you're quoting, probably okay to shop the rate. But if that's the standard, $5 million, or if that's what the corporation is told is a safe number, then I believe that's really what we should be sticking with as opposed to reaching out. Again, we are offering a patio on town property, so it's not within their own confines, or it's now reaching out or stepping onto us. So there is, and we're not charging for that. So this might be the caveat. You got to buy insurance, and it makes sense because you certainly wouldn't want to have a claim any higher than it is and coming back to the town of Renfrew to fall on our shoulders that there wasn't enough to look after that horrific accident that happened on our Main Street patio.
Revimo.
Yeah, I was going to suggest, that I was going to make a motion that we table it until next week and have a special council meeting, because I would imagine there's some other things under new business that might suggest we want one, with the understanding that we would ask for a PowerPoint presentation from our insurer, specifically about this subject and subject matter.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Councillor Johnson.
So I just like, I believe it was Clerk Bulmer who said that the other two patios have already this insurance in place. Is that correct, Clerk Bulmer? The 5 million?
Yeah, I think it was Director Aslan, but yes, I can confirm as well that one restaurant does have the 5 million for their patio, and the other does have a 2 million with an added umbrella up to 5 million. So indeed, they've met that threshold as provided for in their respective agreements.
Okay.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments? Okay. All in favor? I'm sorry, Councillor Sidney.
I'm just a little confused on the sense that the motion reads for 5 million, but you can do the 2 million with the 5 million added part. Am I getting that?
If we turn it down, then we have to start all over with it, one way or the other, with a new motion of some type. But that's what's on the table to be voted on right now.
Then maybe Clerk Bowman, can you just, if we pass this motion tonight, the restaurant that has the 2 million with the 5 million, would they have to now go out and get 5 million?
It's my, and I'll look to Director Ashland to help me out because he's had some discussions, but it's my understanding because they provided the additional 3 million for as an umbrella, that they do meet the $5 million threshold. Mike, did you?
5 million has to be in there somewhere.
Yeah,
Right.
that's correct. We do not stipulate whether it has to be per occurrence or aggregate. We just say 5 million. So that has been satisfactory in our previous applications. But if you're passing a specific motion, to deal with this, we could be more specific by listing a per occurrence amount of 2 million and an aggregate of 5 million as a requirement. And just to be clear, the broker link letter does also say if the municipality is to accept a lower commercial general liability, a limit of no less than 2 million per occurrence and aggregate would be required. So they have provided you with the different levels of insurance, and they strongly recommend that you do something higher than 2 million. And the higher you go, the happier they are, I guess.
Absolutely.
Okay. I'm again, I guess we'll ask for a motion on this particular or a vote on this particular motion.
So we do have a motion on the floor as read, moved by Councillor Evans, second by Councillor Jemison. So I think it should move to vote and then
That's
take.
what I was,
Okay.
where was that? Okay, all in favor? Councillor Evans and Councillor Jemison. Opposed? Okay, everyone else is opposed, so motion is turned down 4-2. Okay. Now, we get two things have been suggested on the table, whether we want to deal with it right now or just a little bit later. One was Reeve Emo's suggestion of a new motion. The other one was bringing in a $2 million motion instead of a 5 million. So which way do we want to go? I'm happy with moving ahead with a 2 million myself personally and get this thing done because I know they have a building permit there and they want to get on with this, and I just think it's maybe have a little compassion there. I'm not sure, but I just think it's time to get on with it.
And just to be clear, if someone is proposing a different threshold, is it per occurrence and aggregate, or is it a per occurrence with an increased aggregate limit of 5 million? So
personally, myself, I don't know what the difference in cost would be, a straight 5 million or 2 million with a 5 million aggregate.
Yeah, and I think the cost is the business owners, worry. I guess it's the coverage that we have to, I guess, understand is what is our limitation as far as the minimum of what we're willing to accept.
Okay. Review.
I think based on the number of questions, it sure makes sense to bring in our own insurance person next week to have a conversation. That's all. I don't feel I have enough information to really make a good decision. If it's going to be reduced, I don't know what we're asking for, whether aggregate or per incident or whatever the terms are. I have a vague understanding of those, but I'm not sure I feel comfortable making a decision based on the lack of information that I have. And then also using a dartboard to pick an amount. I could watch Wheel of Fortune with Vanna White tonight rather than spin the wheel and pick a number. I'm just saying I don't feel comfortable just spinning the wheel to pick a number.
Yes, we do have one restaurant that went with a straight 5 million, the other with 2 plus an aggregate of 5 per occurrence. So I don't know the difference between the two. Cost wise, I think it's a big thing. So I'm not against your suggestion. I don't like putting it off, but if we can get that information quickly, I'm okay. Councillor Johnson.
I agree. There's so much so many questions regarding this that I think we definitely need to hear from our insurance people regardless, because we, as the town, we have to be responsible to all the taxpayers. So we want to make sure that we're deciding on the right amount.
Okay, the insurance company does on the attached letter, though, did say a minimum 2 million. Okay, so Clerk Bulmer, do we need a motion here right now, or do you want to do something just a little later, or how are we going to handle this? I think you're on mute. I'm sorry.
I think you should deal with it now as far as direction, especially if you're contemplating a special meeting of council. I think I heard someone say there may be other items, so right now we'd be looking at a special meeting for the sole purpose of addressing this matter, if that was the wish of council. So perhaps a directional motion of that respect would be warranted.
Okay. Revimo, I gather you want to make that motion?
Yes, please. Yeah, for one day next week, if possible.
Okay. I need a seconder for that, please.
Second.
Councillor Jamison. Any questions or comments on the motion? Clerk Bulmer, do you want to read your interpretation of that draft or that motion?
I just moved by Revimo, second by Councillor Jemison, that Brantford Town Council request a special meeting during the week of July the 19th for the purpose of revisiting Planner Withers' report. Just give me a second. Minimum liability insurance for sidewalk, restaurant, patios, and that the town's insurer be invited to attend to provide background and input. I guess simple as that, maybe.
Okay. Any questions or comments on that motion? Revimo.
That's exactly how I would have said it. And this is not a reflection on the report. I don't think Planner Withers nor the director could have guessed at, the questions that we would ask. So thank you.
Okay. Now, this is no reflection on Planner Withers or Director Asplin. They're just going by what was given to them in the report from the insurance company. So they've done their job as they have to do it, and left it to council to make a decision. So I just want to thank both of you for doing what you had to do there. Okay. There's no other questions or comments. All in favor of that motion? That's carried. Thank you. Okay. That's right. Okay, the bylaw 53/2021 being a bylaw authorized the mayor and clerk to execute a second acknowledgement and confirmation pursuant to the credit facility provided to Renfrew Power Generation Incorporated by the Toronto Dominion Bank, and be read a first time and deemed to have been read a second time. The mover, please. Revimo, seconded by Councillor Jamison. Any questions or comments on this? Okay, hearing none. All in favor? Carried.
If I could, Mayor Eady,
Yes.
I know no one had questions, but just to kind of give a little background, council will recall a couple of months ago, or just a little more than that, that we passed a comprehensive resolution approving of the additional borrowing for the continued work, which you'll see now underway at the upper dam. The reason for this bylaw is that the borrowing is actually part of the original loan vehicle that was taken out during the Thomas Lowe project. So it's called a second acknowledgement and confirmation. So it's like a second amendment. So it's actually borrowing on top of that same borrowing vehicle that the 20 some odd million came out. And the lender, Toronto Dominion, wanted in the form of a bylaw council's assurance. So it's a little bit of duplication of what we've already passed, but it's now in the form of a bylaw. It provides us an RPG with what they need to formalize this loan, and they've been waiting patiently on this, and it just came to light a couple of weeks ago. So that's the reason it came forward tonight.
Okay, thank you very much for the explanation. Any other questions or comments? Say all in favor. Carried. Bylaw 53/2021 being a bylaw to authorize the mayor and clerk to execute a second acknowledgement and confirmation pursuant to the credit facility provided to Renfrew Power Generation Incorporated by the Toronto Dominion Bank, be read a third time and be passed. Mover, please. Councillor Jemison, second by Reeve Emo. Again, any further questions? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. That the minutes of the Waste Management Committee meeting held June the 7th, 2021 be received. Mover, please. Reeve Emo, seconded by Councillor Cooless. Turn over to Reeve Emo for the report.
Thank you, Your Worship. I can report to you and council that we met on June the 7th via Zoom, of course, at 9 a.m. And I will take council through to the section 8.1, the landfill report, where it talks about increased tonnage. Overall, we're up a little from last year. Last year at this time, we received about 2,700 ton, and this year we're at 2,943. So we're up about 175 ton from last year at this time. 8.11, household hazardous waste depot opened on May the 8th, and we're a little higher volume than this time last year and other years. Should note 5,800 liters of oil have been removed from site, which is double what currently is received. So we've had a very busy year. 8.1.2, the waste leg update. We've had some good conversations. Staff, I should say, have had good conversations. And one of the options is to increase the hours for household hazardous waste on a go-forward basis. Just to let you know that the household hazardous waste depot serves about 35,000 people when you include ourselves and our partners. And the net cost is about the revenue is 12,000 approximately. The expenses are 47,000, and the net cost of 34,720 is picked up by the partners Addington Highlands, Admiston Bromley, Arnprior, Greater Madawaska, Horton, McNabb, Braeside, and ourselves. So they're apportioned out on the basis of population, and that's why I mentioned the population that's being served. So option 2 is our preferred one. As you can see from the minutes, option 2 would allow 2 extra days a month for April, September, and October, with the overall cost be approximately 45,000, and our portion would be about 11,000 of this. So yes, and so we would then have to bill out to our partners. So that's why we're having the larger discussion with our partners. 7 of the 8 municipalities, as I listed them, belong to the waste leg group, and the township of Whitewater belongs to that leg group, and they want to join our partnership. And so there's going to be some discussions about that to make sure that the costs are set out equally. 8.2, recycling collection. Good news. We are now moved up to join the recycling when it's turned over to the producers to July of 2023. Originally, we were going to be transitioned at 2025, and that was going to be problematic for us because our 2 partners, Arnprior and McNabb Braeside, were going earlier. So I should note that we have gone forward. So I should give a shout out and a thank you to our staff. They worked really hard to talk to the ministry. And the minister listened and his staff and changed it. And Dave Gordon and Amber Crawford of AMO were involved as well. We used them. And then, of course, the minister, John Yakubuski in his office. So we had a really good effort from everybody and a good successful event, a good successful outcome for us. We still have questions, and we're trying to get some clarification on the management of collection, resident complaints, and diversion of waste to the landfills. We're still not sure how much product was into blue boxes, that if it is not blue box collectible, it goes back to our landfill. Right now that happens, and if the producers take it over, we want to know a little bit more about what happens with that, and is there revenue, and all sorts of questions. So we're asking more questions about that. In that same section, Sustained Technology provided a presentation to the county, and it's moving hopefully to Ontario sometime soon, and we'll get some more information to you about that. It's not the total answer for waste management, but it is one of the components of an answer going into the future. 8.2.1, our multi-residential totes. We are working a test program, working toward a test program in July with one of our multi-residential property owners. Again, trying to move forward with making it easier for people in apartment buildings and to recycle. Moving down to 9.2, food cycler update. And we apologize, it's taking a little longer than normal to roll this out, but there is a pilot project that could include a larger test group that we're looking at. There's some funding out there, and our staff are chasing that for us. 9.3, we had originally discussed a ban of single-use plastic bags, and we're in the process of working towards that, and it was sort of held off because of the blue box transition, as well as with COVID. And so we're going to just keep an eye on it and maybe move towards that. Page 5, 9.4, landfill exterior maintenance. We're just going to do a little tidying up on the Bruce Street side. There's some scrubby looking trees and some longer grass, and we just think it needs to be changed. 9.5, our waste management bylaw. We're in the process of discussing with the clerk's office how we approach an environmental lawyer to review it. Our committee is going to take a look at it again with the comments of MLES bylaw enforcement in our ears. 9.6, stage 4 and 5, we're working on it, and the estimated timeline for transition to stage 5 is set at this point to be 2051. So we have time, but we have to put some money away and some planning ahead. And the idea too is to make sure we don't do anything today that has to be undone 10 years from now or 15 years from now. So we're just trying to get a sense of what it looks like. As you know, one of our goals is to obtain groundwater rights of the surrounding properties. And we're just getting some clarification as to what town services are located in the area and whether they're servicing those properties, because that'll impact on what we do. Our financial summary, 9.7, just to let you know, our expenses overall are in line, whereas the revenue is down a bit. We had lowered the budgeted revenue and numbers in 2021 anyway, because we sensed that we wouldn't be getting as much revenue, as there might be less material coming in from one of our larger providers. And with that, that's what I can report to the committee, or to council on behalf of committee. Sorry, Your Worship, you're on mute. Your white light's on now. I think you're good to go.
Sorry. Maybe a little clarification on the numbers for hazardous waste. There was one quote there, 14,000 overall, the other 11,000 overall. I believe that is the total cost for the whole year of Renfrew's share, not an extra cost, right?
Let me just pull that piece of paper back down towards me. Yes, it would be. Yes, it would. Our cost would rise from the 2020 figure of $8,100. Option 1 would rise to $13,805, and option 2 would be approximately $11,000. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments? All in favor? Carried. Okay. That the minutes of the Development Works Committee meeting held June 8th, 2021 be received. Mover, please. Councillor Koulis, seconded by Councillor Sidney. Turn it over to Councillor Koulis for the report.
Thank you, Your Worship. This was our meeting of the next day after Waste Management, June the 8th, by Zoom, of course. I'll just touch on some of the major things we did discuss at that meeting, and one of them being a couple of requests for children at play signs to be erected in town in a couple of different areas. One being on Coleraine Drive at Pine Avenue, There is some concern by residents there about excessive traffic and speeding and that sort of thing. So it was a thought of the committee that we do approve the installation of a sign at the entrance of Coleraine Drive at Pine Avenue to possibly alleviate some of that problem. The other request was to have it placed on Raglan Street South, sort of north of the school zone area. We already have a lot of signage there because it is a school zone with an elementary and a high school there, located just off of Raglan South. So we've decided to not install additional signage there to just add to the streetscape, but instead of that to request more speed enforcement along that strip of road. We are going to need that enforcement anyway with the completion of Raglan South, as it becomes a very smooth and nice street to drive on. Of course, it's going to be more difficult as it is a 40-kilometer-an-hour zone, and most people do not drive at that when it is nice and smooth. Today it wouldn't be a problem, but it will be after it's reconstructed. So that's and also we do have an additional speed sign that we will be installing somewhere along that stretch as well once construction is completed. We also have some, as part of our construction, we have signalized pedestrian crosswalk signs that are going to be installed on Raglan Street at Barnett to cross there safely, and also on Stewart Street at Arthur. There is no real crosswalk on Stewart Street until you get way up to the lights at Bruce. So there will be a signalized crosswalk installed there following construction. Building permits, of course, the values have exceeded our allocation, our budget allocation. We are expecting the Lapine development to submit permit applications for their second building later this month, actually. So there is going to be a surplus in our building report budget, but those funds are under review as to whether we should set up a special account to handle that as we move forward, because this is a banner year, of course, when it comes to building revenues, and it may not be like that every year for sure. The building, as you see in 8.2, staff are proposing a policy to create a reserve fund for the surplus of this money. And historically, the building department operates at a deficit. It won't be, of course, this year. Revenue generated does not typically offset the operating expenses, and projected revenue for 21 will exceed those expenses. So a reserve fund makes sense moving forward for that. I don't think there's anything else I mean, we went through the total update of everything that's been happening in Renfrew, and there's been a lot of things happening, of course, with O'Brien Road. Its construction is just around the corner, and RFT will be released soon. There is a Stewart Street project. There is a Raglan Street South project. Monroe Harry project won't proceed because of lack of funding at this time. Sidewalk and area paving and that sort of thing has been prioritized, and town crews are working on that as we speak in various areas of the town. The swinging bridge reconstruction is about to be awarded. We just went through some design on that today at Development Works meeting. We have our town garage geotechnical data completed. Waste management, speed signs, yeah, everything else, pretty much our water standpipe is also completed as far as its repairs and its upgrades, and the signage from all feedback I've received and we've received has been positive. Everybody seems to like the new logo on it. There is one of our counselors is going to check to see whether the light actually works on it tonight after this meeting, or so he's promised. And that's my report.
Okay, any questions or comments on the report? Revimo.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. 8.2, a reserve fund could be created and used to offset previous year deficits. So I'm just, so if it's, my understanding of the sentence is that if it's created at the end of 2021, if there's a deficit on a go-forward basis in 2023, then any surpluses could be used to adjust that, as opposed to previous year deficits like 2020. So the funding can only be used from the day it's established, as opposed to reaching back. I want to make sure I understood that, because the wording's a little awkward.
I agree with what you're saying, and yeah, I mean, we, as it says there, and it's pretty clear that we don't have generally enough funds in that reserve to cover the costs. And this year we've got an exorbitant amount, and we may next year too. But it makes no sense to me to put money back into 2018 or 19. It doesn't make a lot of sense. They've been had and they're gone. They're done. We will probably have years that we need some help, and that's where that money would be much better spent, I believe, moving ahead.
No, I agree with the concept. I just wanted to make sure I fully understood it.
Yeah.
I believe this was researched by Director Asman as to the province of Ontario. Maybe Director Asman like to give us a little spiel on it.
Yes, the Building Code Act does provide for provision that you can go back 5 years.
Yeah.
So I think the policy in Renfrew would still have to be developed and established, and like you say, the funds or the deficits are not sitting somewhere in an account right now. They've been fully funded in previous years, so it maybe makes sense to start from day one and create a policy from this day forward.
Okay. Any other question? I'm sorry, Councillor Evans. You're on mute, Councillor Evans.
Thank you. Just quickly for director or councillor, the new and unfinished business. When I sat on the committee, I think a year or two ago, there were landscaping around the pump station on Coleraine. Has that been dropped from the list of projects now? I don't see it on there, capital projects. I believe at the time we sat there, it was given a green light and also awarded to a local contractor landscape company.
Yes, I do recall there was discussions, and I'll commit to going back and determining what happened with that. But certainly it is not something on our radar, but I do recall that there was a commitment previously to do work around that pump station.
Right, okay, thank you.
Okay. Revimo, you had a question.
Yes, the fifth bullet point from the bottom on page 5, it says sanitary truck backup along the Bon Cher. Additional route walls found to clear out. No further communication from the ministry. So I'm just curious what that means.
Oh my goodness. I'm so happy you picked that up, Revimo.
Thank you.
We purposely put that in there. We discussed that today at our Development Works meeting, and I thought to myself, I know exactly who will pick that out of there. Yes, the sanitary truck backed up into the Bon Cher River. That upset the director when we said that to him, but no, in fact, it's a sanitary trunk that backed up along the Boncher. So there's a spelling mistake there, and it created quite a kerfuffle at the time. But it's just a spelling mistake.
Okay, thanks, sorry.
Thank you for bringing it to our attention, though.
Well, just
Any other questions or comments?
unusual. And if I might, item 9.5, when I see the last sentence, however, municipalities will have greater liability for these systems and resources will be required. So are a little curious about our liability. I think I understand what that might be. And then secondly, when does this occur? And what kind of resources are we talking about? And is there a way to catch some fees out of this?
That's Director Aslan.
Yeah, so this is a new initiative that the ministry has taken on this year, and the details are still coming out. There's very few details available to us right now, other than the approvals as opposed to lying with the Ministry of Environment and Conservation and Parks will be delegated to the municipality, similar to how some cities have a delegated authority. So if you all recall, the timeline or the service standard right now for a C of A or an ECA from the ministry is about 1 year. And I think that they're looking at streamlining that system, similar to what is happening currently with the water system approvals, where you apply for a license for your sanitary system and your storm system. And then if the designs meet certain criterias, we'll be able to sort of approve them at the municipal level. And to do that, we're going to require to have to review the applications that are currently being reviewed by the Ministry of Energy, Conservation and Parks. So currently we don't really know what resources will be required, other than the approvals will lie with the municipality now. I guess it depends on the thoroughness of their guidelines that they establish, and what kind of formwork are set forth as far as demonstrating that the designs that are being submitted to us conform to the ministry's requirements and guidelines. So I think the timeline is that they're saying that the town will have to apply for an overall system ECA for the sanitary system and the storm system this year. So I'm expecting that by late this fall, we'll receive some kind of directive that we need to apply for an ECA. So that is going to have some kind of administrative charge to us to apply for this ECA, plus a fairly large technical component that we would have to submit to the ministry. Now at the same time, we're also in parallel proceeding with a revision of our asset management plan that we're hoping will consolidate a lot of the information that the ministry will require as part of the ECA. So it's a big change in what's currently happening, and the municipality is keeping their ear open to listen to changes as they develop. But certainly all municipalities will have this additional burden from the province, and it will sort of interfere with our current processes somewhat.
Okay. Revimo?
Thank you. I'm sure Councillor Jameson and Councillor Evans can remember a similar ministry directive when RPG was informed, I'm going to say 4.5 years ago, 5 years ago, from the Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry, that they would take over amendments to the water management plan. And so we had a lovely presentation from ministry staff telling us what wonderful things they're going to do. They decamped back to Toronto and we never heard from them again. Well, we did actually. Whenever someone phoned in or asked a question about it, it was, oh, you have to talk to the water, you have to talk to the operator of the water management plan for the Boncher, and they'll tell you what the definition is. And if anybody filed an amendment, there was no criteria on judging the amendment. The RPG and some of the local municipalities was on the hook to offer comment on the amendment. The amendment process wasn't clear. It's taken about, I believe, 2.5 years to get some kind of clarity by sort of handing this in, them saying, oh no, we need more. Well, what more do you need? We don't know yet, but just give us more. So I hope that circus isn't visited upon the town and other municipalities. So I'm very curious and we'll pay attention to this simply because already sat through that movie once. It wasn't pretty. Didn't get any popcorn and didn't get any free jujubes. So I'm curious about what happens here. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. Okay, what's that next item? The Director Oslin's report dated July the 2nd, 2021, concerning the award of engineering services for Joffrey, Hague, and Dufferin be received. Mover, please. Councillor Cool is second by Councillor Sidney. I'll turn it over to Director Oslin for a short report.
Okay, thank you very much, Chair Edie and Mayor Edie and Council. This Joffrey, Hague, Dufferin is the next major reconstruction project for our infrastructure improvements at the town. It was supported in the 2021 budget, and it would the commitment was to go to design in 2021 and the design be completed in 2021 and go to tender early in 2022 and construction take place in 2022. So the town did issue a request for proposal to 8 firms that typically work in the area. And we did receive only one proposal from JP2G on June 25th. And we did evaluate the proposal as we would with all other proposals. And the proposal was an excellent proposal that covered the project requirements. The intent is to proceed with the design. The design fees were within the budgets that we had set forth in 2021 budget. And we're looking to have council authorize this award to JP2G to proceed with the design.
Okay, any questions on the report? Okay, hearing none, all in favor? Carried. Okay. The bylaw 51-2021 being a bylaw to authorize the mayor and clerk to execute an agreement with JP2G Consulting Incorporated for engineering services for the reconstruction of Joffrey, Hague, and Dufferin. Town of rent to be read a first time and deemed to have been read a second time. Over, please. Councillor Evans, second by Councillor Sidney. Again, any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor? The bylaw 51-2021 being a bylaw to authorize the mayor and clerk to execute an agreement with JP2G Consulting Incorporated for engineering services for the reconstruction of Joffrey, Hague, and Dufferin. Town of Renfrew be read a third time and be passed. Over, please. Councillor Evans, second by Revimo. Again, any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor? Carried. The Director Aston's report dated July the 2nd, 2021 concerning the award of engineering services for O'Brien Road Highway 60 be received. Over, please. Councillor Cool is second by Councillor Jamison. Turn it over to Director Aston for his report again.
Thank you, Mayor Edie and Council. The O'Brien Road corridor, we've been undertaking continuous improvements of our connecting link, and we've approached the ministry with a rehabilitation program. So the Stewart Street reconstruction is currently in progress and was the last phase of the construction, and the next phase is the O'Brien Road corridor from Gillen Road to Mask. And the town did submit an application for connecting link funding and was successful in receiving $3 million of provincial funding to advance that project. So similar to the last project, the town did include this in the 2021 budget, and we did prepare a request for proposal that went out to the 8 firms. And in this case, we did receive 2 proposals back, one from Bytown Engineering and one from JP2G. And those proposals were evaluated, and JP2G's proposal was found to provide the best value and meet the project requirements for the design of the O'Brien Road corridor. Now, JP2G have substantial experience in Renfrew's connecting links, having worked on Lisgar and the Main Street, downtown, and the Stewart Street project, and now they've also been involved in doing some of the background work on the O'Brien Road project to support our funding application. So there's no hesitancy to award this engineering design to JP2G, and would see the design completed in 2021, tendered early, like January of 2022, and the construction would proceed and be completed in 2022. This project also includes the construction of a fairly significant park and ride at the Visitors Information Center, and would tie in and perhaps be a trailhead for the Algonquin Trail, some improvements to the Algonquin Trail crossing of O'Brien, and upgrades to the traffic signals. And the biggest change in the project design will be the construction of a bi-directional turning lane down. So it'll be a 3-lane configuration similar to the O'Brien Road between Fordington and Gillen Road. And that will provide for free flow traffic turning movements into the new commercial developments, and provide higher capacity of that road system. So that's we're hoping that council will proceed with the award of this contract so we can get on with the design.
Okay, any questions, comments? Okay, hearing none, all in favor? Carried, thank you. Okay. The bylaw 52/2021, being a bylaw to authorize the mayor and clerk to execute an agreement with JP2G Consulting Incorporated for engineering services for the O'Brien Road Highway 60 project from Gillen to Mask, town of Renfrew, be read a first time and deemed to have been read a second time. Over, please. Councillor Evans, second by Councillor Sidney. Again, any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor? Carried, thank you. The bylaw 52/2021, being a bylaw to authorize the mayor and clerk to execute an agreement with JP2G Consulting Incorporated for the engineering services for the O'Brien Road Highway 60 project from Gillen to Mask, town of Renfrew, be read a third time and be passed. Need a mover, please. Yeah, Councillor Evans, second by Revimo. Again, any questions or comments? All in favor? Sorry, Revimo.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. I was just going to say I'd like to congratulate staff and the development work committee as well. This, when you look at the Schedule A that talks about the journey to get that whole corridor modernized, I think it's commendable that it's rolling out as it should, and glad to see it happening. I think it will, when it's completed, present a very pleasing look for visitors and daily travelers to town along that corridor, and makes a lot of sense. And so glad to see it. So congratulations to committee and staff who worked very hard on this.
Okay. Any other comments? Hearing none, all in favor? Carried. The Revimo will appear before council and provide an update on the Ontario Winter Games. Mover, please. Councillor Jemison, second by Councillor Toulis. Turn over to Revimo for the report.
Thank you. Just very quickly, the games is proceeding. Oh, sorry, Councillor Sidney. Are you frozen?
Go ahead, Revimo.
So very quickly, it is proceeding as planned, and there will be further announcements about it. The 16 committees are working very hard. You'll see a social media presence and a website launched in the next few weeks, and there is some opportunities for local groups to become sponsors. So there will be a sponsorship program rolled out. We'll also be approaching municipalities in the next little while. Renfrew will be hosting some functions at Mattaway, and so we'll be approaching the town and other municipalities for some assistance. And just wanted to pass that on, and I will forward a package of information with minutes in the next little while, just to bring you up to date. But it's just a very quick synopsis of what's gone on to date. Thank you.
Yeah. Any questions? Okay, hearing none. All in favor of the report? Carried. Okay. But the minutes of the Renfrew Public Library Board meeting held May the 18th, 2021 be received. Over, please. Councillor Evans, seconded by Councillor Colas. I'll turn it over to Councillor Evans for the report.
Thank you. I'll begin with touching on a few of the highlights from the CEO's library activity report back from April, May. Our CEO again participated in naloxone training, as well as several members of her staff. Kelly, our CEO again, will also be taking a webinar on inclusive programming. Workplace assessments were completed by staff. There were a couple of areas of improvement, but overall the staff feels safe. Again, Kelly participated in virtual CAO networking session held by the Ontario Library Service. It included Ontario Library CEOs from the Northern and Southern libraries. Student interviews did happen on May 19th. It would be for the summer placements. And library staff were also given new email addresses. Kelly also reported that the circulation numbers for the month of April were 3,622. For the financial statements, for the most part, everything is in line, with one exception. The maintenance and building repair line items will be slightly over budget due to flooding issues that occurred back in the month of January. We also received an update on the architectural projects. This is for the new, we'll call it renovation or extension for the library building. We were given screenshots of the preliminary drawing, or shown. And again, just a few highlights on that. The main entrance again would be on Raglan Street. The children's library will be moved to the main level of the programming building. Meeting rooms will be on the upper level of the programming building. Circulation desk will be more accessible. Collections will stay on the lower levels. And there's talk of an elevator as well in this plan. If anybody has any other questions or would like to add, please let us know.
Okay, any questions or comments, Council? Councillor Sidney.
Just a follow-up. It'll be on the minutes of the next meeting. We did get a presentation from the architects for the moving forward with the library. I think Renfrew and Council will be very impressed at what it's going to look like, or has the potential to look like. And you know, I think it's really important to note that the staff and the CAO has been phenomenal and working hard at that. And I think we're looking forward to showing you what it could look like. So it's pretty exciting. So thank you.
Okay, anything else? Okay, hearing nothing, all in favor? Carried. Okay. Okay. Any new or unfinished business? Revimo.
Yes, just was going to bring it up anyway, but since we had the discussion about insurance, was wondering about adding to that special meeting conversation about RIC. Councillor Coulis has some more information that probably should be shared with council in an organized fashion. And then the other piece would be if, depending upon progress, if we could have the caboose conversation at that meeting if the information's ready, given that we did talk about having something appear before council in July.
Okay. Any other new or unfinished business? Okay, hearing none. Okay. The bylaw 54, 2021, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the Council of Corporation Town Renfrew meeting held July the 13th, 2021. You read it first time and deemed to have been read a second time. Over, please. Councillor Sedney, second by Councillor Coulis. All in favor? Opposed? Okay, the bylaw 54, 2021 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the Council of Corporation Town Renfrew meeting held July the 13th, 2021. Be read a third time to be passed. Over, please. Councillor Evans, second by.
Sure.
Councillor Coulis. Any questions or comments? All in favor? Carried. We now adjourn and it is 8:31. Thank you. Good evening. And I did hear some